evening, everybody. How are we? Yeah, thank you. So my name's Elliot, I'm known as the coach with the hat, and I'll explain about that another time. I only have 9 minutes. Normally my seminars go on for 2 days, or the longest I've ever done is 11 days, and doing 9 minutes is by far the most challenging talk I've ever created. So I'm going to cram it all in. So what's different about us is what we do is everything is interactive and experiential. So Power to Succeed, you're up off your seats. We are basically putting you through processes, putting you against your stuff. It's very much in your face, and it's all about dealing with your inner conflict, because that's what I do as a peak performance coach. I'm all about what's going on inside, what's your conflict, and resolving that to enable you to remain at peak performance, to be at peak state, so you can deal with the challenge in your life. How many of you here right now have a little bit of challenge? By a show of hands. Right, thank you. Most of us. Who has none? By a show of hands. Yeah, that's okay. Great. I'm so glad. It's just to be you, Michael. Okay, good. But that's okay. There's no right or wrong. It's not a competition. But what I do is offer the tools and techniques to do that. The reason we do experientially is because it hits all the learning ways at once. Audio, kinesthetic, and visual. And it goes very deep, very, very quickly. What's my inspiration? My inspiration is this. Like Gal, I grew up in Israel. I lived there for 10 years. And whenever I mention the word Israel, I ask everyone to always park politics, because it's not about politics. And this is where my inspiration lies. If ever you want to see a conflicted land and a conflicted bunch of people, go to Israel. It's beautiful for so many reasons, and it's so divided, and it's self-destructive for so many other reasons. I grew up there watching bombs and everybody getting shot, and it's not nice. And that's my inspiration for all the work I do. Everything I do is about inner conflict and how to resolve that with the tools I've created under the empowering coaching system. Because if you think of it like this, and I talk about this a lot, is do bullets discriminate? Do they choose who they kill? No. Do they? Do bombs? Do they choose who they kill? No. They don't suddenly like divert and go, wait a minute, if I fired a bullet, they don't suddenly go, wait a minute, no, you're Catholic, I'm going to skip you, I'm going to take that person out instead. Do they do that? And that's what inspired me. I remember being 14-year-old, standing in my room in Israel, and a friend of mine had just been killed. And once again, this isn't about sides, because both sides are telling the same story, just from a different angle. Does everyone agree with that? Right? For me, it's about human life. I remember standing there at 14 going, I've got to do everything I can to make sure this doesn't carry on. And that's what I've dedicated my time to. I'm looking to eventually build something called the Inner Peace Foundation, which will offer these tools and techniques in a charitable way. So that's my vision, that's my big Mount Everest. I want to give people tools and techniques so they can sit at a table. It's not denying conflict, because conflict will always be there. It's about giving people the tools not to kill each other. That's what I stand for. It's about giving people the tools to deal with conflicts in an effective way, but accept that it's always going to exist, because it's not going to go away. We are naturally conflicted people. But if we have better tools to do it, that's the angle I come from. So some of the challenges I dealt, and one of the biggest ones was a couple of years ago, which really pushed my work to the next level, is when, you know, the universe very kindly sends you a test. Anyone experienced that? To test how much you really want something. Anyone know what I'm talking about? It kind of gives you a little kick. And it goes, do you really want this? So what happened was, within the space of 2 weeks, I lost all my clients. Once again, I take responsibility. There's no, it's because of what I did. I lost my clients because they flew. They were like, yeah, I'm ready to go, but I hadn't planned for any other clients to come in. I was relying on them to renew. I then...
Just the mic a little bit far from the...
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
It's just me getting all passionate. What can I say? So I lost all my clients, and then also a relationship I was in broke up, and then I was dealing with investment that crashed. So it all happens, and who knows the rule of 3 generally? Kind of everything happens in 3. Yeah, that's kind of what happened to me. And that really tested me, because the universe was going, how much do you really want this? How much do you really want to impact people's lives? And at the time I was getting loads of testers. I was getting people going, here, let me give you a job, let me give you a job, and some of them very, very well paid. And I chose not to do that. I chose really to pursue my passion and my purpose in line with my values, because I knew that I would be copping out if I took a job. And so, and that really metamorphosized me as a peak performance coach. It really moved me forward and accelerated my results personally. And that's really what I share when I talk to people, when I speak on stage. I grew up with a father who's an alcoholic. I've overcome rape as a man. But nothing challenged me as much as that moment when I was stood there and I was like, oh my God, I came back to the UK, I was in Australia for a month, I thought I'd made it. Anyone kind of experienced, yeah, I'm really successful. And then the universe goes, no, you're not. Anyone experienced that? Who's never experienced that? Who's not going to put their hand up, whatever I do? Thank you. And that's what the universe did to me. It was like, how much do you want this? How much do you want to impact people's lives? And I had to really sit there and go inside and really utilize the tools that I was, because I've been a coach for 5 years and in training for 10, and that's collective years of 15 years experience. I've also worked with Sky Television, Talk, many other corporate clients. And the universe literally tested, you can call it a higher power of God. How much do you want this? How much do you really want to drive your purpose? And I remember lying there, I was living in Acton. Anyone know Acton? Yeah, I do. Yeah, good old Acton. I was lying in my bedroom in Acton. I remember lying there going, how am I going to pay my rent? I have no money, I've got no subcontracts, I have no income, I've got rent due. Anyone know that feeling? And I have zero money. It's not the case if I could even have no savings, nothing. I ploughed it all into that 1 month in Australia. All the money I made, and I guess the message from the universe was, you got too cocky too soon. And I was like, okay, how much do you want this? And that's when the offers came, and that's when people were like, okay, do you want a job? And I said, well-paying jobs. Like, no, I'm going to stick to my tools, I'm going to stick to everything. And that was really 6 months of going inside and looking at my whole programming, looking at all my patterns, looking at my belief systems. One by one, I had to strip them apart and look at, really, what did I stand for? Do I really stand for inner peace as a human being? Do I stand for that as a man, as a person, that part of this global community that we belong to? And I went, that night, when I lay there, wondering how I'm going to pay my rent, I went, stop freaking making this about you. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. And I forget it. It's like an epiphany. And I went, wow. And the next morning, I went into product creative overdrive and made like 5 products in about a month, only to start with a mentor that told me never to do that again. So it's very interesting how quickly you explode and then get clawed back. So here's what I want to ask you to wrap it up. I'm gonna end on a question, and I think I'm ending a little bit early, which is rare for me, for those who know me as a speaker. I really want you to think about this. What would your tomorrow look like if today you addressed your inner conflicts? Thank you.